This episode is powered by Thirdzy, your go-to for game-changing sleep recovery. Imagine hitting your workouts harder and waking up feeling unstoppable. That's what Thirdzy's PM Recovery Collagen does for me. It's like pre-workout, but for your sleep, fueling your body's active recovery processes without any melatonin or sedatives. Just one scoop before bed supports deeper, more restorative sleep so you can crush your fitness goals. Ready to experience the best rest and recovery? Visit Thirdzy.com and transform your nights into recovery power hours. Thirdzy, because sleep is the ultimate recovery tool. That's THIRDZY.com. Save 20% with code JASONZZZ. Let's get into the show. We're back. This is the Masters in Motion podcast. I'm Jason Grubb. I'm here with Rick Stevenson, and semifinals are done. That whole process is done. Leaderboard was finalized just today.
Yes. I got my
It's official.
Today's Tuesday. Yeah, it's official. Today's, yeah. Yes.
You're going to the games. I'm going to the games. Congratulations.
For you, sir. Congratulations. Back to you.
It's been a bit of a choppy road, as we have navigated both the competition. The competition was great. Then the video review process, and then HQ review process, and little scandals here and there with athletes.
Yep.
Doing a few things. We saw the leaderboard change a little bit here and there, not nearly as much as I thought it would change. But yeah, what were some things that you've heard bouncing around out there? You left me a message this morning, or Easter weekend, just sort of like you were contemplating what changes would potentially show up on the leaderboard, and as far as I know, not a lot changed compared to what you saw.
No. I mixed emotions this year, I'll be honest. Last year was crazy because I think they looked at no videos of quarterfinals and one each of semifinals. Yet you know what? At the end of the day, the fittest got there, and the fittest rose to the top in Birmingham. So I have to think, as onerous as this whole process was with the double judges and the in affiliates good standings, and the effort that the athletes and the community had to make to ensure that the semifinal process went well, I'd have to think the right folks got through. There are probably some, and I was close to it too, some very disappointed people just on the other side of the cut line, screaming that something wasn't reviewed or something wasn't looked at. I think you and I have talked to some people from HQ in the past, not officially, but off the record, that, how the process works. A friend of the show, Bob Jennings, has given us a little insight into how they review when they're hosting Legends. It's not an easy process. It takes time. You throw in these longer workouts. There's only certain man hours in a day in order to get through. But when the Andrew Hillers of the world are making videos and pointing things out, and I'm sure their inbox at Games.support is getting filled up with, hey, look here, or look there. And then if things don't change, then it kind of makes you wonder, well, what are we seeing? What are we looking at? However, I'm sorry, soapbox, I'll finish here. I'll kick it back to you. But the whole, I still don't know where I fall on you asked for more sets of eyes in a very controlled environment, to be live in person and doing the judging at the right angles, counting the reps. And then you're turned it over to a bunch of keyboard warriors to make the call also. So the more the weight should be on the in-person judges. And I think that maybe HQ deferred to that, to say, hey, that person was there. That might look suspect from our angle, but that judge was right there. The folks that counted improperly or incorrectly or stopped short of a certain number of reps, that's on everybody. That's this part of competition. You learn, you make mistakes, and you move on. But as far as what a lockout looks like or something like that, that's maybe you defer to the person live and eyes on. Sorry.
Yeah, that was, we had a CrossFit Athlete Council meeting with HQ last Thursday, I believe. And we had sent them a pretty extensive email with a couple of thoughts, right? One was, to start off with, we just said, hey, you know, as the council, we were just the age group council, requesting the meeting, but they did request the meeting, and we had requested it much earlier. Basically, as soon as video review started happening, we had requested a meeting. They had pushed us towards the end of the following week, towards the end of the entire process, which in retrospect, it makes sense. You know, they are not going to make any about face changes or, you know, operating procedure changes in the middle of the competition. They decided all of this months ago, and this was how it's going to go. So I can understand that they wanted to do the meeting much later. You know, once we had the meeting with them, we've got Dave, we've got Boz. The encouraging thing is they were willing to meet with us. Right. And felt fairly timely on that. But we sent this email over saying, you know, basically we're fairly unclear as to the role of the athlete council in this situation. You know, we're getting each one of us individually we're getting peppered with, what about this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy, and we have no extra authority than any regular person just emailing game support. So, you know, all we could do was say, hey, that's a tricky one. I see what you're saying. You should email games support. And you know, every once in a while someone would send me something, I would just forward to the game support. That's all we could do. We don't have like this direct line to Dave and say, hey Dave, you got to look at these egregious movements.
The bass phone. Pick up the bass phone.
That'd be fun if we did, but that's not our job. Like we're not like administrative assistants for CrossFit.
Well, and you're all athletes, and a lot. Let's see. The ones that I know that are
athletes.
I was going to say that puts you in a very bad position, or a very awkward position. Right. That's not your job. Your job is to look at the website, see what the workout says, follow the rules, perform it, and let the chips fall where they may. Not to
and that's very true. If I bring up all the 45-year-olds that weren't locking out dumbbells, I may have an agenda, right? You know, so I want to have integrity and be a part of this process with, you know, as ethically as possible. So forwarding or telling people, just forward that to support at CrossFit. That's the whole support. That's the whole reason it's there.
That's why it's a separate inbox. Yeah, absolutely.
It's a separate inbox. The other, you know, so we said, hey, you know, in the future, not right now. Things are very busy, but we need some clarity around what the expectations should be from the community for the CrossFit Athlete Council. Like, how do we define what we are and what our actual role is here? So we'll do that in the future. But then we pressed into the video review, and you know, HQ agrees that there should probably be some sort of, you know, possible comments, something that would give a reason why you are up voting, down voting the video, something like that.
Exactly.
So they agreed that could be possible. They didn't agree as strongly, I think, as we thought they would. Like, it's just obvious. It's so obvious that you have to provide a spot for us to provide feedback. Like, why is this video not good? Well, it's because the person stepped over the line, or the person was doing jump over, whatever the thing is. You just tell them so that they know what to look for. Otherwise,
can I tell you a funny thing? I was going to say, every survey, every customer service survey across the world that you get online, hey, tell us about your experience, what's your feedback? There's 99 out of 100 times there's that little box at the end that says, please leave additional comments, and everybody leaves it blank. That's all we're asking for.
That's it.
Very simple. And I go to Chipotle, I'm not going to say anything in that comment box. I could care less. But in this instance, if I had a comment box, it's a 20-minute video. Don't you think HQ might want to be pointed in the right direction? Hey, at minute 12 and a half, check lockouts. That's all we're saying.
And then you really have the community providing valuable feedback on a video. Otherwise, you know, obviously the other thing that we mentioned was you don't have to watch the video to submit a vote.
Wrong.
So that just seems like a glitch in the system.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's super important that that's there, but I think from a priority, it's even more important that you can comment why a video needs review. I think that's more important, because then the next reviewer that goes on there, and I think that I don't even know if that comment needs to be public, but it has to be submitted so that HQ can see it. So maybe,
correct.
Like if it's a public comment, then we see, hey, Rick was commenting on Pat's video, and Rick says that Pat didn't lock out his overhead stuff. And now we see your comment public. I don't think that needs to happen. I think that comment just gets pushed to HQ along with your response, but then it saves them so much time.
Correct.
Because Boz said that they are, they're in the process of reviewing 1,500 videos. And the math is kind of interesting on that. I don't know how that math works, because I can't fathom that they're actually reviewing 1,500 videos, given some of the feedback that I got from athletes. So, for example, someone reached out to me, sent me this issue. There were a number of athletes in a particular age group that would typically use a 35-pound dumbbell, that used a 35-pound dumbbell in the workout number 3, where they're just doing burpees over the dumbbell. And it said clearly that was supposed to be a 50-pound dumbbell. Okay. So there's a number of videos that actually show the 35-pound dumbbell on the floor. And there's another bunch of videos of athletes that didn't show the dumbbell at all, so you didn't know what size dumbbell it was. Right. And these were marked for review. And, the leaderboard is finalized, and, a bunch of those athletes did not change. Nothing, their score didn't change.
Yeah, it comes down to following rules too. I mean, that's all they're asking you to do.
That's it. And so I guess one of the things that we didn't get from HQ, which we feel like we'll need in the future, right? This was an initial feedback. I think we'll have another planning meeting down the road. Like we're already scheduled next week for the 2026 Open planning meeting. Wow. That's on the on the agenda. So. Sooner than later, we'll have, hope maybe we'll be a part of the process for planning for semifinals in 2026 as well. And I think that has to become fully transparent. Like, how many votes does a video need in order to get reviewed?
You brought up a good point, and I guess this is education for me and for listeners as well. CrossFit Athlete Council, like when they're asking you about 2026 open planning or feedback or something like that, your council has nothing to do with the final stage of competition, the age group games, right? Just to be clear, because that is,
as far as we know,
that has completely been farmed out to the Legends team. Yeah,
correct. So
we don't want people to think that you guys are somehow involved with making decisions about anything like that. Yeah, absolutely. This is HQ to stop at semifinals.
Correct. And to say further, we don't know what CrossFit will do with any feedback we actually provide. Right? There's no guarantees. We might say that. I think one of our feedback about the 2026 CrossFit Open is that there tends to be a decent, not always perfect, but at least multiple layers of age group adjustments for masters athletes in semifinals. There's the 35 to maybe 45, 45 to 49 to 49 to 45 to 54. Sometimes there's these brackets, right, that keep that ensure that a masters that's my age at 49 isn't doing the same thing that a 70-year-old masters is doing, or a 55 to 70. That's too broad of a range. Right. So I think one of our pieces of feedback will be that, you've been able to do this in quarterfinals, in semifinals historically. We think that a couple of additional brackets will be appropriate for open workouts. Gym owners are probably competent enough to understand a couple of additional layers of scaling, for lack of better words, for masters that are 55 plus, maybe 60 plus, maybe 65 plus. So you don't have someone that's 55 doing things that are too easy and someone that's 65 plus doing things that are too hard, right? Right. But we don't know if they'll actually. We don't know if they'll do that.
The equipment has generally been pretty straightforward in open. tests over the years. So to say that you might need fewer plates on a barbell, or a lighter dumbbell, or shorter tape lines, or something like that, that I don't think that's asking too much. We're not saying wheel out the GHD for the open. And, oh my goodness, nobody has a GHD, or 50% of gyms have a GHD. Okay, I got you.
And don't get me wrong. I mean, I program for all the age groups of masters athletes every week, and coming up with age appropriate stimulus for the various age groups is very challenging, and it's not always perfect, for sure. But it's
what you learn.
It's worth a shot.
And they've been doing it as long as
definitely.
They know what they're doing.
And it's not like they're not going to share workouts with us. They're not going to share anything strategic like that. But among many pieces of feedback we'll provide for the Open, it's nice to know that they're planning that ahead, and we anticipate having a meeting like that for semifinals next year. Probably once all of the in-affiliate semifinal stuff is done, and they've taken a short nap and woken up feeling fresh to talk about it again, because this is a hard process for them. It's imperfect. I think they're doing the best they can with a global. They're working very hard to try to do something good with a global competition like that, and there's always room for improvement. And we want to try to provide that as the Athlete Council in a way that is really fair for the athletes. So we also, I think another thing that will have to be talked about is a couple of things. So on one hand, people jumped through hoops to make sure that they had an L1 head judge and L1 floor judge for every one of the workouts. You traveled. So many people traveled. They shared this with us, that they decided to provide some grace for those that had judges that had expired L1s. We know that there's a big cohort at Mayhem that had an expired head judge. Huge snafu there. Plenty to learn from the AFJ to ensure their judges have the credentials before they before someone goes. Huge lesson for Mayhem, lesson for all of us, and for all the athletes. It's up to us to ensure, regardless of who provides a judge, that judge is current. But HQ said that because this is the first time they did that ever in competition, they were going to have a little grace on that, review those videos, restore people's videos that were good. So they did that.
And it happened in
it did.
For two of them, and it worked well.
They were very consistent with that. They said they made another decision and were consistent in enforcing this decision, that if you were unaware that your head judge or any of your judges did not have their advanced judging certificate, your score was 0.
Okay.
That was something that they chose to handle those two things separately. They didn't explain why. They just said, hey, we're going to be consistent in how we apply these two rules. And that may feel inconsistent to some of our listeners. I certainly got some of that feedback via all of the channels that people reach out to me. So unfortunate that some of those athletes that got zeros had no idea. There was I believe some teenagers are probably the ones where this is really a bummer, where adults that were running the affiliate, running the competition, but didn't have their advanced judges course, these teenagers were bumped out from the games. And that's a huge bummer. HQ said that was just the policy they decided to take, that no advanced judges course, you're out.
No more grace this time going forward with in-affiliate team workouts.
Correct.
Or in-affiliate individual workouts, elites, with an expired head judge.
L1.
L1. Right. So they made that exception because this was the first competition that they did it in. And I did see that note, and we've heard it Dave's Week in Review, and we've seen it posted a couple of places that there will not be any exceptions going forward. So when teams start, this weekend.
That's it. So those teams and those indie athletes that listen to our podcast, take note.
Oh, huge listener base.
Huge amount of our audience. I mean, they were all taking notes right now.
Yeah. I was going to say, I've got some good news on this side, but I want to let you finish your.
Yeah, I was going to say that, they took the feedback that was a significant pendulum swing to have all of those credentials plus video review. And we'll provide feedback around that. We'll have to gather more from the community on that, on what the community wants after all the dust settles. So we'll figure that out. But we also requested, like, hey, if we're going to go through all these hoops to have these credentials for in person, then we probably want the people reviewing online to have those credentials as well, right? Ooh. I don't, if someone has to have an L1 plus 2 judging courses to judge me in person, how is it that someone who takes a $10, is it $10 judges course online? It was a
$10, yeah, I think.
Can just fire off, whatever votes they want. So that was ding, ding, one where we said, hey, let's even that out just a little bit. But again, if you have that, again, if you just have a feedback box, and maybe it's required. In a perfect world, if they were very organized, you would have, for event number 3, let's say, what do we have in event 3? We had handstand walk, we had burpees over a dumbbell, we had pull-ups,
and toes to bar.
That's it. And no toes to bar in that one.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
Was it? Yeah, it was toes to bar. You're right. It was toes to bar. That's right. That's right. It was awful. I'd already forgotten how terrible it was.
My toes to bar fell apart. Absolutely.
Right. So if there was a drop down, right? So if you provided that feedback, say, hey, this needs review, and there's a drop down, and there's probably 8 to 10 things in that drop down that you could check are issues, right? That makes it just so accurate. You can't click submit unless you select things. And yes, there could be people that game this thing, but it certainly would lighten the load for HQ.
Sure, on that targeted approach.
Yeah. So, they said they're reviewing 1,500 videos over the week, which again, it's insane. It's an insane amount of videos. I think they could use more help by having some direct feedback on that. But I was glad that they were willing to meet with us. It was not, I wouldn't say it was a uber productive meeting, because I think we need probably a few meetings with HQ to go through something like this to help plan or provide feedback for the next year. And again, it puts those of us in the athlete council in a really tricky spot where we want to make sure that we are serving the community the best that we can, and supporting CrossFit as much as we can, but we don't have really clear definitions of what our role is. So we'll also bang that out and try to figure that out over the next year, so that when we go into the next season, we're not just the catching mitt for all of the issues. It's
I think it's great that you're having this communication, because remember when it was the headbutting between the PFAA and HQ and whoever was on the committee, and the fact that you guys can have these meetings. Who knows what they're doing with the feedback, but they're listening, and
they are, and they're responsive.
It sounds like cool. The communication is lines are open.
Yeah,
which you're the buyers, we are the buyers of their product.
This is true,
and it doesn't hurt to listen to your customers. In this case,
no, and I'll say this: my co-founder in Boulder Athlete, we were having a conversation via Marco Polo, and he was just saying, this is their product, right? This is their product, and you want to deliver an amazing product, right? This is how you build, loyalty, customer satisfaction, all those things by building this great product. And he just did some quick math on, if you had 200 videos in every division, how much time it would take to review all those videos. If you paid someone overseas to do triage, if you just had this huge network, he was like, it's just not that expensive when it comes down to it, to have the manpower for it. I mean, maybe it's, I'm not even going to throw out numbers, but he threw out some numbers to me, and I was like, man, to do it for that price, to provide that kind of an experience, so that we would just know that we have done. Yep. All of our videos reviewed. Just to have that assurance, you want to trust the product. Sure. I can't even think of an example of that. But I don't know how many people go into the quality assurance of a Tesla that I drive, but you've been in my Tesla. You've had it auto drive, right? It just drives us. I hope there was thousands and thousands and thousands and millions of dollars spent to ensure that Tesla does what it's supposed to do.
I was kind of hoping that too.
I mean, it took you for a heck of a ride, didn't I?
Doesn't feel like too long ago you and I sat down and talked about the beginning of the Open. And here we are, 2/3 of the season done, and it's worth celebrating the wins that many folks had across the spectrum. I didn't participate in an affiliate with the Open as in years past, but I know you did, and you had some great Friday Night Lights experiences, and I saw that out there on social media. They cut out a qualifying stage for age groups this year, went to semifinals, and it didn't matter if you finished first like yourself in the semifinals or 67th. I saw wins across a lot of people that I either know or kind of know on the margin that like this was a good year, this was successful because of this. And it has been a lot in a very short period of time. And granted, they're larger fields, so hats off to everybody that qualified. There were some new faces, a lot of new faces. There's some old guard that are aging up, and you're like, oh boy, here comes, thank goodness they'll never catch up to my age kind of deal. Or, familiar faces. People that you want to reconnect again when you get to Columbus. And for the people that just missed, that had a very good year, it's probably given them a level of motivation to go back and say, I was this close. Yeah, I'm still in this age group 3 more years. What do I need to do? I need to stay healthy, and I need to do this, this, and this. So in a very short period of time, we've put a lot of the season together, and I think that's worth celebrating, the wins, and you can define win however you want, but wins across the board for teenagers and the men and women of the upper age groups that work their tails off.
Yeah, totally agree. Congrats to those. Now that the leaderboard is finalized, congrats to those that are now able to call themselves games athletes. Mm-hmm. Rick, this is your 3rd time being able to call yourself a games athlete, right?
Yep. 3rd time.
Amazing. It's
not
amazing
getting any easier, but it
it
helps validate what the work is, and a lot of people can say that. The people with 6 and 7 and 8 under their belts, those kind of athletes, it validates that what you're doing is working, or you're getting some luck of, staying healthy as well. And first timers, they're excited. Now, hey, here's a plea to Bob and team. Let's make it a great experience in Columbus. They're going to be having the teenagers. It's a bigger number of athletes, a bigger event. There are going to be teams there as well. I think it's an excellent venue from what I saw. It's large. There's plenty of space. Let's knock it out of the park. From everything from briefings to check-in to competition. Poor Jason.
I mean, to the Boulder athlete, the Boulder athlete experience booth. We just signed papers to be a big sponsor this year. And I think we don't know what the floor layout is. We don't know anything. Right. All we know is that we know where we are on a map compared to like where the competition floors. They'll be over here. There's going to be like vendors over here, so you walk through. But we're in a high traffic corner. Okay. And it's all we can say is that it's a huge investment for us. It's a huge. I don't want to say it's a gamble because it's how you do business. We want to support Masters athletes. We want to support the games. We want to support everyone that's there, regardless if they're a Boulder athlete or not, and just invest in the Masters division. But having looked at because we're an early sponsor, we could go on that map and say, which spots we want. Spot 6 or 9 or whatever the 2 numbers were. We're like, we'll take this one because everyone turns right when they walk into someplace. So anyway, we're excited about it as well. And
excellent.
It's in a great location. Someone was asking me today, where is it? It's at the Columbus Convention Center. And this is where they have, the Arnold, they have huge events down there, right?
Correct. So yes, hotels are connected to it. It's located on High Street, right in the heart of downtown. The Arena District is right next door, steps from it. You have Huntington Bank Field, which is where the AAA Columbus Clippers play. You have Nationwide Arena, where the Columbus Blue Jackets play. You have North Market for food, you've got up and down High Street in Short North, every kind of fast food, fast casual, fancy sit-down dining. And then 11 blocks north, you've got Ohio State. So it is concentrated right there. And then south of you, the state capitol and everything in the heart of Columbus there. So it is in a prime location. It's busy, and if you want to do something, you will be able to do it that weekend.
Now, you did mention something to me. I think if our listeners, to our listeners, here's a heads up. If I'm not mistaken, this is the move-in weekend for Ohio State University as well. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It is. I don't have dates because I have somebody moving in that weekend. Fortunately or unfortunately, it's great that it's in the same city, but they typically go in that Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, and the games are right now slated for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So go ahead. It's a big one.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. As you mentioned, so I remember when I was looking at different Airbnbs, I was thinking, of course I'm going to do an Airbnb, and you had mentioned that during move-in week, whatever date that is, or a couple of days, it can make traffic really crazy down there. So it's just a heads up to those that are planning on heading down there for the games. The traffic could be crazy. This will be the first time at any CrossFit Games where I'm staying in a hotel. I'm typically a guy that wants my own kitchen, food, all that stuff. Like, we found an Airbnb that looked amazing, and it was so expensive, like within walking distance, that we couldn't even justify it. Also, we need to have like 8 other people staying there with us to afford it. But we're staying at the Hyatt. It's got a little kitchen. But for me, I think I was telling you beforehand, like, we're going to drive there. We're going to be in the Hyatt. It is connected to the convention center. I'm going to bring a rice cooker because that's a staple when I'm in competition. I'm going to bring a hot plate so I can cook a pound of ground beef every night, which is also a staple. And ideally, I don't set off the fire alarms. We'll be careful with that. And I'll have all the yogurt in a fridge or in a cooler. Like, we're going to figure this out on how to compete at the games in a hotel, which many other people have done for years and years and years.
Yes.
This would be my first, but we're booked.
I was going to say, if we'll have to reach out and get some information. I would say look for hotel information coming out, unless I've missed it, but that's very possible. A lot of the Ohio State move-in is done without a ton of overnight stays. It's like drop off, spend some time, and then take off. Having done that before. But there are the out-of-towners that travel from all over that need hotels at least a couple of nights. So that's the point. Now, there are a lot of places to stay closer up by campus, but Columbus is still a bigger city, and people will be wanting to explore. I didn't even mention, also in the arena district, and you always have to check that schedule out, is the stadiumlower.com field for the Columbus Crew, the MLS franchise. So I mean, everything is within steps of this convention center. So it can be an exciting, vibrant time, especially in August. A lot going on.
It's gonna be fun. I can't wait. I can't wait to go out there, stress out for a few days during competition.
Absolutely.
High stress, high stakes, and then that Sunday night, go out and eat all the food, whatever.
Oh yeah,
whatever the food that needs to be eaten. I know you and I typically will go out for pizza, and so that's probably on the docket. We'll probably have 20 Boulder athletes all going out for pizza that night or something. We'll figure something out. And have a good time.
Win, lose, or draw, it'll be there will be food consumed. Let's put it that way.
It's very true.
But go ahead.
I was going to say, anything else pressing this week? Is there anything else on your agenda?
Two things. One I was going to say is a lot of these episodes of late have obviously been focused on this part of the competition season. We know there are other things on the calendar, and we will talk about them in the upcoming weeks. I think you called it on your weekly Boulder athlete briefing, qualifier season. And we know already there have been some, like for Monster Games, but other qualifiers are upcoming. There are a lot of summer competitions that are occurring, and I think it's worth, if we get some news to discuss on that. We'll bring those type of ideas up. But as we roll through, this part can be put to bed. and bring on fun qualifiers, bring on fun in-person competitions. So there's a lot more on the horizon.
There are, and I may have some surprises to share with you, but I can't tell you yet.
Okay.
There may be some fun things coming, Rick.
See, I like that.
Maybe. Speaking of qualifiers, so it's going to be a good qualifier season. Of course, there are big competitions coming up this fall. Not just the games. You've got a Masters Fitness Championship. You've got a pairs competition. You've got Legends. Like you said, Monster Games in the middle of summer. Beach Brawl. I mean, lots of regional competitions as well.
Absolutely.
It makes the
Wadapalooza out west shortly after the games, for crying out loud. I mean,
sometimes I get nervous, with CrossFit, with a for sale sign in front of it. It makes me nervous. Like, I really want CrossFit to continue. I want the CrossFit Games to continue. But if there is ever, I'm always the kind of guy that I always think of Plan B and Plan C. If that ever doesn't happen in the future, there are some great organizations out there that create some amazing competitions for all CrossFit athletes and particularly Masters athletes. Like, there is always something for us to do. And again, I think that's one of the reasons that you and I love this sport and see ourselves doing this for as long as we can,
Absolutely.
Like, I want to be Dave Hippensteel's age and just be able to still do all the fun things.
I'll say from my side, sure getting harder. I'm not placing first in all these. And speaking of World Fitness Project coming up, I mean, we've talked with Jason on our show here. I'm excited. I'm still trying to play with the date and the time to get away. It's a reasonable drive. It's just north of Indianapolis. It's coming up May maybe 9th through the 11th, I think. And a chance where I might have a shortish drive to go and see some of the biggest names in CrossFit and not have to compete myself is very appealing. There will be the community side of it, so you'll probably bump into people that we know and compete against. But I'm very curious how we've seen the events; they're all released already. So I'm curious how that competition runs, because there's a lot riding on their on their side over there. As much as they're trying to make a push to professionalize it and turn it into a league and a season. The first one is just a few short hours away, so that's rapidly approaching as well.
Yeah, you got to do that. And on my agenda next week, I'll be at the Power Monkey training camp. I think they do it twice a year, so that's on the agenda next week. It's always nerve-wracking, because I really like following the progression of our programming, which is, I mean, I know I write it, but there's the guy that writes the program and the guy that experiences it. And the guy that experiences it, I really like following it. So I'll be out next week doing that training camp. It's going to be loads of fun, lots of people out there. Okay. And then I'm not sure how far beyond that, but the Syndicate Crown is coming up too. And that's another simple drive for me.
Yes.
So that may be another. I went there last year, had a great time watching. And again, it's really fun to just go be a spectator, like no stress, just out there to be a fan of the sport. So I may head out for that.
When you get a chance, I mean, and they're reasonably close. I mean, the stuff on the West Coast takes a lot more planning and time off work and might involve a flight to the left coast. But here, let's take advantage of some of these things in our backyard. Good chance to see some incredible competition. All right.
Absolutely.
Well, congratulations again.
Ditto, my friend. We'll see you in Columbus. And likely I'll see you much, much sooner here and in our daily conversations.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
You got it.
All right, man. All right, see ya.
Thanks for tuning in to the Masters in Motion podcast. We'd be so grateful if you could take a moment to leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or your preferred podcast app. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us reach more listeners and grow our Masters community. Until next time, get bolder, not older.